Also ich fange jetzt an, oder? Okay. Welcome to this first issue of Double Feature Online Special. We call it a 2 days of video art with a couple of artists, 6 artists in total. Every day, 3 artists. I give a short introduction and then I'm introducing the artist of today, which is Bjørn Melhus. Hi, Bjørn. Thanks for participating.
Hello, Matthias.
Hi. So the monthly double feature sees itself as a platform for various tendencies and forms of expression in contemporary film and video art. For almost 8 years, double feature has welcomed national and international film and video artists to present the work from their own, followed by a film of their choice. More than 60 artists have already been guests in double feature. Conditional on the corona crisis, we have stopped in March this year the program of double feature. And in that context, I'd like to thank all the artists who had already confirmed the participation and who were affected by the lockdown. Nevertheless, I would like to share the good news that we finally decided to continue the regular program live at the SCHIRN Kunsthalle in September with Berlin-based Johanna Bruckner. We are very happy to present today and tomorrow new works by 6 artists online, including live interviews with the respective artists. Today, the program starts with Bjørn Melhus, to be followed by Monira Al-Kadiri and Ed Fonyelis. The 3 artists for tomorrow are Eli Cortinias, Andrew Norman Wilson, and Agnieszka Polska. As some of our regular guests know, the realization of double feature has become more and more an open platform for curators and associates of the SCHIRN team, but also from outside. I would like to thank very much the curatorial team of this online special, particularly Ellie Palentin, who was actually the person who got the ball rolling and who will be the host of Eli Cortinias tomorrow. Big thanks also to Ilka Fürmann, Anushka Bertelius, Johanna Laub, and Rebecca Herlemann. Ilka is the host and interviewer of Monira Al-Kadiri today at 7 p.m. At 9 p.m., Anushka will meet with Ed Fonyelis. Tomorrow, the program continues with Ellie and Eli at 5 p.m. At 7 p.m., Rebecca will meet with Andrew Norman Wilson. And finally, at 9 p.m., Johanna will meet with Agnieszka Polska. My name is Matthias Ulrich, and I will now meet with Bjørn Melhus. Before we start, here comes sort of technical information. Due to the technical effort of this online project, the maximum duration of each artist talk is about 1 hour. That includes about 30 minutes for the interview and the time left for Q&A. Please pay attention that the live stream on YouTube and Facebook ends after the interview, and any question to the artist you have must be asked on Zoom webinar. Please pose your question with the operation of the hand signal then. Bjørn Melhus has been doing video and installation art since the early 1990s. In his work, he refers to cinema and TV. Often his work equals those references, but exaggerates them or creates sort of gaps. The result is threatening and let us think of the differences between truth and fiction, among others. As Melhus usually plays all the characters in his films in different costumes by himself, one can find the narrative of a fairy tale. Besides that, it's also about identity and much more about the difference between the human self and the media of visuality. Since 2003, Bjørn is a professor of visual arts and virtual reality at the Kunsthochschule in Kassel, Germany. The last solo show he had in Berlin at the Kindle Center for Contemporary Art in 2019. In 2014, he has been the Artist of the Month of Double Feature where he screened two works, I'm Not the Enemy from 2011 and Sudden Destruction from 2013. His video work Sugar has just been awarded Best German Contribution at the Internationale Kunstfilmtage in Oberhausen. So I'm very thankful to Bjørn that he permitted us to screen that very new film, which is going to different festivals this year. Yes, my first question is sort of Corona question. The former director of the Moderna Museet Stockholm, Daniel Birnbaum, has criticized the way how we still experience art, and due to technological possibilities, virtual and augmented reality, as well as ecological responsibility, the museum of the future should be a screen, to put it very simplistic. Can you share this claim, Bjørn? Since you're a professor of virtual reality, I thought that is an interesting question.
It's an interesting question to start this dialogue. Absolutely not. I can answer this. Absolutely not. I was so happy to the first times when I went to real exhibitions again after the lockdown, and for me it was like this moment to explore the space, three-dimensional space in an exhibition and see. So itself, it has to be physical. I mean, to move my body through a space and come closer to artwork. It's not even, you cannot do it with 3D glasses or virtual reality glasses. It's a whole different experience, and no. I don't share this view on these things. No,
I totally agree with this. However, it's a topic that came into fashion now through the isolation, through the lockdown, and I mean also this evening today is thanks to that situation that we are going online, that we are doing this this virtual experience. I mean, there is of course a difference between film and other sorts of artworks like sculptures or paintings, but nevertheless, also your work usually is installed in an installational manner, and it creates a situation, a special situation to the for the visitor to experience the work. So the next question I have is connected to this, because the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston has recently commissioned a study about paintings that can be experienced either in a museum, in person, or online. The study found that the brain activity was even more pronounced when the viewer sees the works in augmented and virtual reality than in real physical space. So the question is whether brain activity is the most important activity when watching or even listening an artwork. What do you think? I mean, you already answered that in a way, because there might be a big difference between a painting and a video installation.
Yeah.
But what do you think of studies like that?
I don't know. I mean, of course, maybe the brain activity is like it's caused by the translation process. That if I see something like especially painting, or if I look at some work that I usually experience analog and suddenly have it on a 3D glasses or in a virtual world, it needs maybe a translation process in my brain, and this is more activity. And I don't trust these studies, because it is simply what I experience as an audience when I look at a painting, especially when it comes to painting, even more when it comes to sculpture. When I have the choice to go closer, to walk further away. Okay, I can do the same in a 3D world, but it is, I guess, we still probably think, how would it be in reality? Because maybe this is part of the brain activity that we still, like, in our background, there is still machine running, that we always think, how would it be in reality? And we do the translation process, and therefore it is maybe more brain activity. But I think there is nothing better than reality as we experience reality.
Reality, the so-called reality,
Yeah,
or
yeah. I mean, versus
kind of
virtuality, I would say,
yeah,
like
yeah.
what we experience here right now. I mean, we can be really, really happy that we can do this. I mean, 10, 20 years ago, if this, like, a crisis because of a virus would have happened, I mean, we would have been, like, in a very, very bad situation,
Yeah.
writing letters maybe. So, and it was good for, I mean, for all the artists who work with time-based arts, with single-channel film, video. It was possible. I mean, there was a whole film festival, like the Oberhausen, the short film festival in Oberhausen, and they did an online festival, and they really tried to, with Q&A after every film. It somehow worked. I spent every day 5 hours watching films and watching the Q&As. On a large projection in a dark room, and it was somehow like a little replacement. So, but this is possible with film and video, maybe with painting, with sculpture, or installation work. If you have multi-channel, I would not compare it. No.
But maybe that is something I'm not. I'm not supporting that idea, but maybe that influences the way how artists from now on will make works that are. I mean, there is some critique from older artists already that say that many paintings are already produced for Instagram or the digital distribution of their work, and this and would totally fail if you present it in a museum or in an art space. I'm not sure if this is a good reason. But for me, for instance, maybe this is a minor point, but for me, it's quite important to see how other people relate or connect to the works in the museum. I often observe people, and not so much. I observe them mutually, like the artwork as such, as well as the people around me, how they are attracted by works, how they are um, going to the works, how they are feeling, or etc. But maybe this is, I mean, this is something that is totally missing in studies like that only focused on brain activities, which is not part of this study.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting. Of course, there is through the change our behavior, we change our way how we look at things, and how we even our perception inside a museum. I mean, lately I see more often that people taking selfies with some paintings and or in front of some artwork to communicate in a different way with a piece, or they just walk through and take a picture of everything, and probably will never watch it at home, or maybe only can watch it later in the translation, being like standing next to the artwork. I mean, there is a major shift, but that doesn't change the artwork itself. Like, if you have a painting and it's a good painting, you have a certain physics, materiality in it, and and I still believe in that.
Yeah. A last point, just a last point. We come to your work then, but what was also interesting in that study is that they made reference to Walter Benjamin and his influential essay on the reproduction of art, and they see a similarity of a work presented in a museum or a work presented in glasses or in a virtual gadget, so to say. I don't know if that is a good point to compare these two points, but of course, photography, for instance, has changed the way how we see art and how we understand a painting or just an image on a canvas. And I'm sure that virtual reality or all that stuff that also changes our understanding of art as such or the art products. But
sure, yeah.
But let's jump to the word sugar and come to some more interesting points. The statement of the jury in Oberhausen says about sugar that it transfers humanity again to humankind, while Horn, you can talk about that person by yourself, represents in this context a traditional human being, and sugar the artificial or post-human being. It seems that the post-human being would replace the traditional human being. Can you explain us your choice? And do you want us to think of history as repetition? This is a Marxist argument, in a way.
First of all, the two characters, Han and Sugar. Han is a short form for human organism normal, and this is a character, a leftover of what used to be human or what was once human, and this shell, superficial shell of creature has not the ability really to move right away again in a right way. Repeats in an endless loop fragments from influencer language, and is isolated in a little apartment and just like caught in his or its, we don't know, it's something in between, in its reality, in also very capitalistic its language. I mean, comes with influencer language. So it's this character is caught, and there is no empathy because the ego in this world grows bigger, larger, and larger. That happens in all the virtual or social media. I mean, it inflates the ego. And it's only about me. And then on the other side, the machine that comes in. Lately we like when we talked about artificial intelligence, there was so much or so many questions about empathy, or if a machine could even feel empathy or so. So this machine, Sugar, has the ability to come in and to have to bring back what is maybe humane empathy, a human touch. I mean, Sugar tries to hug, to move the body of Han, because Han has no body feeling anymore. I mean, it is all like the difference between maybe connection, or like connection when we talk about the virtual world, in conjunction when it comes to the real world, how you connect with each other. And Sugar brings in something else.
This kind of answers another question I have. There is a company called Humanizing Technologies, a great title for a company. And one of the products of this company is a robot called Pepper. What I remember that it was introduced to help lonely people, like older people or sick people or whatever, because Pepper is able to learn emotionally or learn the vocabulary of emotions, like what you said with empathy. On the website of Humanizing Technologies, Pepper can be installed to entertain people or to welcome people, or it can also become a star on stage. I mean, this is the words that this company uses to sell that work. The question I had was, on the one hand, this similarity or the contradiction between sugar and pepper, which might be not your intention to call sugar. And the second was, what difference would you say is between sugar and pepper?
Yeah, first of all, in my research for this film, I of course encountered pepper already, and the name sugar for sugar is like a real answer to pepper. I mean, I said like, okay, we have pepper here, so we can do it much sweeter. We call it sugar. and it's indeed, I mean, pepper has a number of jobs already. Like in Japan, pepper, they use pepper for ceremonies, for funerals, replacing priests. And this is not just a joke, it's they take over. I mean, these machines, they will take over, and it is especially like in this context, what I addressed with deep learning and emotions. I mean, of course, and we still talk in a case with pepper, we talk about like the simulation of emotion, because we still don't know if this machine has the emotion, yes or no. And this is like brings us to a very, very strange let's say also the uncanny valley, a term when it comes to artificial intelligence and robotic, that it becomes so close to the human that it is becomes like also really uncanny, because when we think about a machine having like even more feelings, more empathy, more emotions than we are as a human being, then the sides start flipping around in our understanding of what is machine and what is human. And this was very, very strong intention for this film, for Sugar, to have this change of roles, this flip of roles in this encounter. And that I don't tell where it leads to, but everyone should watch it by him or herself. But this was for me a very interesting question when I started the research. And this is like for all my work, I spend like at least a year of reading. I go to conferences, like I went to artificial intelligence conferences, and also the whole discussion, what is intelligence? And when it comes like some in the robotics, they say like to teach a machine, or that machine learns how to walk stairs or to move a hand to the mouth and back again. This is like what they call intelligence, and not if a machine can play chess or Go or something. So there are different ideas. And then the next question is emotion and intelligence, of course.
Yeah. To me, it often feels like that this artificial intelligence is more or less statistics. It's a program that is based on statistics, on decision making, and the learning process is just like the way how these data change the statistics as well as the algorithm. That is the fruit of the statistics in a way, or of the algorithm.
But maybe our brain is the same.
Yeah, so maybe yes. Yeah, totally. We don't know. I mean, we create some simulacra in a way and think that could be intelligence, but of course, finally, it's a black box. It's nobody knows.
Yes.
The film, this is another question, seems to me is structured in 3 or more, or maybe 5 acts, like in theater plays. I don't know, 5 is the regular kind of situation. So it might be 3 is very obvious. The last act, which is called solution in the theater speech, has the meaning of either a comedy or a tragedy. In what we discussed before, humanity is either to be finished, which is the tragedy, or has never been achieved, which is the comedy. So where would you locate sugar as such? Like, is it a comedy or is it a tragedy? We don't know really. I mean, to me, it looks like people have said this is a kind of a post-apocalyptic scenario, but there is some hope at the end. I mean, it's really like there is some laugh or some emotions, some positive relation to what is coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the tragedy is the right word.
Yeah, of course we have, depends on the perspective, like we have a very tragic comical situation. So I would also even sometimes say like it's a tragic comedy. So it is both of everything, of the two sides. And of course the solution at the end is it's a question how one reads it. And it is, the solution is maybe to overcome this physicality of the human body, even, or the human body that is also replaced by this machine, or the machine has also like the shape of a human body, but overcomes this also this ego, and goes into a swarm, into collective swarm intelligence that has nothing to do with a physical human body, but it is still a it's a collective. We don't know if it's like a natural or a synthetic swarm, but it is the change from overcoming this ego into something else, and to go into a certain oneness as a proposal. I just say like it's a proposal and a vision.
Yeah, you have already talked or mentioned this the speech or the voice of Horn. To me, the voice of Horn guides me to some historic examples, which I think many videos of other artists that deal with so-called digital reality criticize the durational presence and permanent accessibility of our life. Like an electronic voice, the individual disappears. That seems to be the case in your entire work, where every spoken word might be a quote and it's spoken from outside, like in a synchronization. What in Sugar is the source of, or the sources of the spoken words?
So I use the voice of a very famous influencer who has like I think 2 million followers or so, and she often like promotes products, gadgets. Especially this was like the whole language was taken from a live stream she did as an influencer for the new iPhone, and everything around. So I was quite happy to find that, because I was on my research. I wanted to have this language of unboxing, influencers who present these like always these consumer products, and they're just like they're soaked into selling, basically. Of course they earn some money with it, but there is nothing left than just the shell that sells, like the machine that sells these products. And so I started to watch this at some point when you like end up like late night, like looking at things, and I became fascinated by that, and also horrified, really horrified when I think like this is how our society became. Like everyone is a marketer for someone, and everyone tries to sell hysterically, like products. I mean, they seem to be convinced. I don't know if they are good actresses or actors that they seem to be so convinced, but probably they are convinced, like in this world, that we need all this shit that they promote. And so even doing the research was like made me sometimes really depressive. Like when I walked home at 3 o'clock in the morning after listening for 5 hours, stuff like that, I thought like the world comes to an end. And it took me a long time to focus on one of the voices I had, of course, already like downloaded, I don't know, hours, 100 hours of different voices, male, female, different products. And then I found her, and then even took another half year that I found that she released something without background music, because usually they always have background music. And this was the moment where I said like, okay, now I can use it, because I always do the sound editing first in my storytelling, and I couldn't use the background music. It was really, really hard in the beginning. We tried to filter it out and so on. So like kind of almost I couldn't do the project, and suddenly there was something without. So this is the information about the voice.
Yeah. Some people has described sugar as a new interpretation of Plato's cave allegory. One can see another image, which is that of Nietzsche's last human being, or the original dandy, which in the 19th century was introduced by the French author Huysmans in his novel Across the World. The dandy actually has the desire to escape the world. Why is it impossible to understand? This is, the question I had, why is it impossible to understand Hahn as a dandy? Because the one that might be also connected to this current situation that we live in, but there might be also, I don't share the idea of the dandy in total, I would say, but there is a positive relation to escape the world and to create a totally fictional life. But this is nothing that you had in mind or that you see with Hahn.
Hahn is a very tragic character. I mean, I think there is no wish to escape the world. The world is shrunk down to like this little place. Like Hahn even doesn't leave the room. Even at the end, when Sugar leaves, like Hahn stays on the inside of himself. So he cannot even leave he cannot even communicate to some outside. He cannot communicate to this outside in reality, because it's caught in himself, and therefore I would not like see Han as a dandy character at all in this comparison. It's more like a patient
imprisoned person.
Yes.
I recognize that we are already at the end somehow.
That was fast.
Absolutely, I didn't understand. I have another question, but is there other questions too? I mean, I have a last question that might be more a detail of your work, but I found it interesting to see this automated sponge. This seems to me as a central figure, because I will say it differently. The natural sponge is an animal that lives in the ocean. I'm not a biologist, but I'm sure the sponge exists long before mankind. The function of the sponge that we use in bathroom is to absorb water, or as a metaphor, a sponge is a recorder. Not to mention the figure sponge had from American popular culture. What function has the sponge in your? I would say it's an utopia. It's not a dystopia. It's an utopia, because there is some light going out of this sponge, and when we see sugar leaving the cave, there is like a star fire around around the sponge.
Yeah,
is the sponge the main character?
It's a very good question. Yes, behind the scenes, the sponge is very important, and it's kind of a metaphor for for this collective consciousness that or for nature. That is, in this case, like when we in the beginning inside the apartment, the little robot, we called him SpongeBot. So SpongeBot in this place is a domesticated sponge. It is like caught and put like inside, and is also imprisoned. But then in this dream sequence, there's a dream sequence, and the sponge suddenly creates this sparkles, and then Sugar dreams about the sponges outside, and because the sponge is exactly the key connection to that what Sugar becomes later, to go into the collective consciousness and connect back to this natural or nature what our planet is actually. So it's also inspired by books like The Mushroom at the End of the World, that something takes over. And in this case, of course, I looked into what it could be, and the sponge, I found the sponge as a wonderful, also very poetic metaphor for this idea.
Frozen. I have a frozen picture now of you.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I don't know.
I hear you, but but you are frozen.
We need technical help. Is that possible?
Hello, can you hear me?
We have now a frozen image.
Hello.